Hey y'all, and welcome to Gemini Outdoors, where today we'll be continuing our Theory of Life discussion on the Illusion of Freedom series. This video will be entitled Subjugation. Okay, so let's begin by asking, what is subjugation? The definition of subjugation is this: the act of forcing into submission, the act or process of bringing somebody, especially a people or nation, under the control of another, bringing under control or enslavement. Whew, that's kind of a rough definition, folks. The act of forcing into submission. Does that sound kind of familiar now that we've been under this progressive globalist agenda now for the last 16 years? Haven't we had a lot just forced down our throat? How do we feel about that? I mean, do we like it? I know I don't. I don't know about you. I know I don't. And that's why I became politically active the way that I have. I don't necessarily want to be. I'd much rather be making videos on gear evaluations and my excursions and doing other things than I am constantly having to be on here preaching about politics. But I feel that the Illusion of Freedom series is very important to me, and I need to get that out there because, you know, politics is important, and it's very important for all of us to get out and vote and to stop subjugation. I bet you didn't realize this, but we experience a mild form of subjugation every day at our place of employment. We voluntarily suspend our rights for money, to make money. You'd be like, Kevin, we don't subjugate ourselves at work. We still have rights at work. And I would answer you this way. Really? You really feel that way? Okay. Then go up to your supervisor and tell them what you really think about them if you don't like them. See how long you keep your job. You don't like the way the company's doing something, but the company is bound and determined to keep doing it that way, even though you know and everybody else knows that works there that it don't work. How many of us have to turn around and do something and cut corners because the business wants it done a certain way and you know full well it doesn't work? How many of us? I know I got to raise my hand and do it all the time. Because the simple fact of the matter is the people in the offices don't want to listen to the people that are on the ground, that are in the factories and that in the warehouses and know what's going on. They don't want to listen to us. Why? Because they're in that office and they believe that it all stops with them when it don't. Every general should listen to any good general, will listen to his foot soldiers, because guess what? His foot soldiers are out there. They know what's going on. They see what's going on in front of them, just the same as your employees see what's going on in front of them. A lot of these employees, if the employers would just listen to their employees, would get a lot more done. And a lot of really good employers listen to their employees, and they realize these people know what they're talking about. I'm all to listen to them and make my decisions based on the information they tell me, to work as a team. But yeah, you go into your job and tell your boss how to do his job and see how long you keep it. Subjugation will put us in a place to where we will no longer have free speech. We won't be able to tell, just like at work, we won't be able to tell. We tell the politicians, basically, we still have that power to be able to tell the politicians in a way what we expect from them. Now, if your name's Clinton, you can get away with telling everybody to buzz off, apparently, including the FBI and the Department of Justice and all that other great stuff. But you ain't going to be able to tell them what to do or what your opinions of it are, or the fact that, you know what, we're going to take your job away from you. They're working on that, by the way. Searches and seizures. In subjugation, they're just going to walk in, they're just going to bust your front door in and walk in your house. Search and seize whatever they want. No warrants, no probable cause, none of that. In subjugation, they're just going to take your stuff. Prime example of that, yet again, is at work. I get searched every single time I walk out of that building. Do I think it's right to punish everyone for the acts of a few? No. But I put up with it, and I guess the question is, should I put up with it? You know, I've actively been searching for a new job and that's one of the very reasons. I know a lot of people who quit our job. It's even gotten worse since I've started there. I've been there for 10 years, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And it's gotten to a point to where people are just leaving there and quitting. Due process. You know, at least in the system that we have now, you'll have your day in court. Your day to be heard by a jury of your peers. In the future, will we have that, or will we just have a judge sitting there and say, you're guilty? Pop. Take him out back. Do what you got to do. It's a pretty good question to ask subjugation. Oh, the joys of being a YouTuber. Let's move on to our next section, shall we? So what is your role in subjugation? What is my role going to be once we get into subjugation? The definition of a subject is governed, ruled, controlled, directed, obedient, submissive, servile, slavish, subservient, subjected at someone's feet, at the mercy of, dominated. Wow. That is the definition of a subject. Do you want to be a subject? People wonder, what were the founding fathers thinking when they wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights? What were they thinking? What were they thinking with the Second Amendment? Oh, people act that way. They don't understand, because that's the definition of what they were. Remember, during the revolutionary times, in our founding fathers' times, they were subjects to the British crown. They were subjects. They were not citizens. They were subjects. Let me repeat that definition. Governed, ruled, controlled, directed, obedient, submissive, servile, slavish, subservient, subjected at someone's feet, at the mercy of, dominated. That is the definition of subject. Gee whiz, I wonder why they revolted against that. I wonder why they rebelled against that. Why they had a revolution. Why they fought against it. Why they gave us the Second Amendment to keep this from happening again. I wonder why, said the progressive globalists. I wonder why, because I can't think for myself. I can't look at history and realize that it repeats itself. Wow. Basically, when you're in subjugation, you do what you're told, or you are dealt with very quickly and very badly. You do what you're told, or else. And the or else is very mean. There's no such thing as courts. There's no such thing as due process. You're taken out and you're either shot or you are hung. At least back in the Founding Fathers' days. You have no rights at all. There's no free speech. You can't go around and say what you think. You can't criticize government like you can today. You can't put your 2 cents worth in, because your 2 cents is going to turn into 4 cents of getting your butt beat down. No free speech. No religion. If they don't like your religion, guess what? They're going to shut you down. No more congregation. No due process. They're not going to give you a chance to speak. They've already got their minds made up. No privacy. They're just going to come bust through your front door and search and seize all they want. I mean, that's a scary thought. Wow, that's a lot right there in this one little segment. That's a lot to think about, and I really strongly suggest you think about it. Do your own research. Get online and look stuff up. Seriously, look stuff up on your founding fathers. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. There's so many of them. You need to get on there and look and see what they went through, and how many times they tried to work with the British Crown. They tried over and over and over again, and apply it to what's going on now. They tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, and finally they were forced to do the things that they did to do the revolution. And look and apply it today and realize how scary similar it is. Think about it, and think about your right to vote. Think about you going to the polls this November and voting to stop this stuff, because it's coming. Let's move on to the next section. What will the signs of subjugation be? What will it look like? I think we're already starting to see some of it. The very first thing you're going to notice is a militaristic style of policing. If not the military being involved completely. We're getting there, folks. Why does our police need military style equipment? Now, I'm not talking about, the armored vehicles and stuff like that. I'm talking about machine guns. Stuff like that. Stuff that the military's providing. Maybe even the vehicles themselves. Yeah, the armed vehicles anyway. Why do they need all that? It doesn't make any sense. Why do police need that? We've got a military. We've got a National Guard. Why do the police need it? I don't see, for the most part anyway, I don't see roving gangs of militaristic style people running around creating too many problems. I mean, right now there's some movements going on that I guess I have to wonder about, but I don't see the reason for them. Why not just call in the military itself? A constant state of surveillance. Well, we already know that exists. The NSA exists. They're tapping our phones. They're listening in on our phone conversations. They're reading our text messages. They're watching our Facebooks, our social media platforms. So that exists. Electronic money transfers will eventually become mandatory. There will be no more cash money. That is what I think about one world currency when I hear it. I think eventually it is going to happen. I think all transfers will be monitored electronically, because it's easier to find. That way they can find out what you're buying, whether or not you're buying guns, whether or not you're buying ammo, whether or not you're buying supplies, all that stuff. That's going to give them an idea as to what's going on. Eventually, all civilians will be disarmed. They're working on that right now. What did Hillary Clinton say? She said that the Supreme Court got it wrong on the Second Amendment. How'd they get it wrong? It says in the Constitution that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, I believe I have a right to regulate your rights. You know what? We got a right to know your emails. If it had to do with, your public service. And I believe that the government has a right, because you chose to use a private server for government business, then the government has a right to come find those emails and charge you if you did something wrong or unethical. But you know what, Loretta Lynch and James Comey and all these other folks, they decided, well, we're just gonna do what we're told with Clinton and all that, and yeah, we don't feel like doing our jobs that we were sworn to do. So I think they should be arrested as well. But that's just me. But yeah, all civilians will be disarmed. They're going to take your guns away from you, everything. They're going to take the air guns away. They're going to take the muzzle loaders away. They're going to take the bolt actions. It ain't going to matter if it fires a projectile, it's going to be taken away. Count on it. Just saying. So let's move along. So can we stop subjugation, and how? The first thing that we got to do is recognize it. We need to recognize that it's happening right now. We're being subjugated right now. It's happening. We have to admit that it exists. We got too many people in the media. Look, folks, I'm going to tell you just like it is right now. The media is in the pockets of the politicians. The ruling class, whatever you want to call them, the establishment. That's who they're in the pockets for. Remember, they have to pay a fee to be licensed to do what they do, right? So they got to keep that. They can't do their actual job. At least over the airways anyway. But, it is what it is. So we have to admit it exists. So we got to get on whatever platform will allow us to speak our minds. That's going away as well. Look at the terms of service for Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google. All these places are starting to enact these terms of service, even though they're using a free speech platform. Eventually they're going to take that away. And it is going to be very obvious. It's getting very obvious to a lot of us people who are now. I'm searching for more platforms to be able to speak my mind in a free manner. So eventually, do I see people like me who are talking a certain message that doesn't have to do with sports, it doesn't have to do with the funny yuck type of deal, or the ones that are falling on their face drunk or whatever is going on YouTube. They don't want serious speech on there. They want funny stuff. They want stuff that people ain't going to take seriously because they're scared of it. Once we admit it exists, then we need to bring it to light by speaking out, like what I'm doing right now. I'm speaking out against subjugation. I'm speaking out against it because I don't want my son to have to deal with it. Better I deal with it now than my son in his time. That is a famous quote. I can't tell you who exactly said it, but I know it's someone else said that, and I'm just repeating it. But I believe in it, and that's why I'm doing this. Speak out wherever you're at. I had to do it at work the other day against a guy. He was sitting there saying, "Oh, I don't believe that some people should be able to have semi-automatic firearms." And I look at him, I was like, "Well, you mean some people, you're meaning me. You're meaning the legal gun owner, because the legal gun owners are the only ones who give a damn about your laws that you're talking about. And these silly background checks." He was going into about background checks, and I asked him, I said, "Think about this, man. I'm like, if you ain't got a criminal history, what does a background check tell you?" He's fine. You can't predict the future. You don't live in the Minority Report. And I shut him up quick when I brought that up. As a matter of fact, he didn't like speaking to me after I brought that up. I'm like, you don't live in the Minority Report. You don't have psychics walking around and telling that this person's going to commit murder in the next 2 hours. We don't live in that. It doesn't exist. How's a background check going to do that? It doesn't. It only checks prior history. If you ain't got a prior history, then guess what? A background check is pointless. Just saying. We also can fight against it by electing non-progressive globalists, or even better, constitutionalists who want to get back to a constitutional government. To live by the Constitution and not make up all these silly laws that go against our Constitution. that take rights away instead of giving us the right to be able to stop things. Such as mass shootings, for example, by allowing legal armed citizens to carry their weapons and to be able to act without fear of having to go to court and defend their actions against, this stuff in court when it's obvious what it was. Too many people are in jail right now because they acted. They acted, and the government said, "Oh, well, you were not a police officer. You didn't have a badge on, so that was wrong. You shot this guy who was shooting at these other people. What was wrong with you?" Yeah, for real. That's what I said. To stop subjugation, the subjugation of the people of the United States, it's very simple how we stop it. You start voting. I said a number in a previous video. There's 90 million gun owners out there, and I swear, I'm using this as an example, I hear this all the time. Well, I ain't going to let them take my gun rights away from me. Well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to vote? Oh, no. I don't believe my vote counts. What are you complaining about then? If you're not going to do nothing about it, what are you bitching for? The way I look at it is, and I had the same viewpoint for a long time until I had my son. And then I realized that I was passing the buck to him and making life harder on him and my other children on down the road. So you know what? I knew right then I've got to do something about it. So I started voting. That's the one thing that you can do. Start voting. I see on YouTube all the time a lot of these guys talking about the next American Civil War and the next American Revolution, and we're going to have to fight and blah, 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 and they're talking all macho out their ass when you know full damn well whenever they get the knock on the door, they're going to be handing the guns out just as quick as they can. But there is something that you can do, loudmouth. There is something you can do. You can go vote. 90 million gun owners. If we all went and voted, if just 75% of us went and voted and actually practiced what we preach on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube, then guess what would happen? It would be a landslide against the progressive globalists. That's who they fear. They fear the American gun owner. But we have to make our voices heard once again, folks, and not in a violent way. We don't want violence, folks. I'm telling you, if it comes to that, it is going to be bloody and it is going to be bad. And we don't want that. We want to stop that from happening by all means necessary. We need to stop that from happening. We don't want that kind of a thing. I don't even like hearing people talk about it. Especially when we can vote. You can vote. That makes a difference. Let your voice be heard. They cannot steal a landslide. It is impossible. And if you would shut up on the Facebook post, if you would take just a couple hours out of your day on November 8th, I believe it is, on election day, take a couple hours out of your day. They even let you they let you have a couple hours at work. I know, I've checked on it. It's a law. They have to give you a couple hours to go vote. Go vote. Register. You're running out of time. Register. Go vote. It is an absolute necessity that you go vote. We need you. We need you. You need it. That's your American duty. Go vote. Alright, well, I guess that pretty much closes this video out. I'd like to thank you for viewing. Please subscribe. I need some subscribers, folks. Keep this thing going, you know. I really like the views, but I really would like to have some subscriptions as well. So we'll see you next time.